All right, we're on page 551 of Sri Sharda Devi and her Divine Play. Oh, good. Here comes Rena. And we're starting on the chapter or on the section called Holy Mother's Far-Sightedness, which is in the chapter Untold Stories of Jairamati. And of course, Jairamati is where Holy Mother was born and raised, kind of where she worked out of at least one of the three places there, Kolpara and Dakshineshwar. So, Holy Mother's far-sightedness. Sudhir Chandra Samui was born in Jairamati. His father was an illiterate farmer, and his grandmother was one of Holy Mother's maids who mopped the floor and washed the clothes. Holy Mother told her to send her grandson Sudhir to school. He later graduated from the University of Calcutta and became the headmaster of the Deopara Champamani High School. He wrote in his memories, "At that time, there was no school for children in Jairamati village. The mother arranged to start a primary school for them. The mother had deep feelings for the poor farmers of the village, and once she asked Vibhuti Ghosh, a disciple of hers, 'Vibhuti, it would be wonderful if a dam could be built on the Amadar River to divert some water to Ahir, a big lake that is now called Mayur Dikhi. That will help the farmers to irrigate their fields during the drought. I have seen Amzad, a robber of Shiromanipur, who came to see the mother from time to time. We were afraid of him. I saw the mother receive him with affection and feed him. At that time, there was no good facility for drinking water in the village. The villagers bathed and washed clothes in the same pond where they collected drinking water. Mother arranged through Swami Sharadananda to dig a well in the village so that the people could have good drinking water. During Jagadatri Puja, the mother would arrange a big festival and feed the villagers. She supervised the whole affair. She had unbounded love and affection for the villagers. My uncle, Ramendra Ghosh, looked after the mother's cows. Once he was bitten by a snake. The village doctor and Vibhuti tied his hand so that the poison could not spread, and the doctor cut the spot to take out the poisonous blood. The mother rushed there and said to them, 'What are you doing? Take Ramendra to the temple of Simhavahini. Give him the mother's bathing water to drink, and apply mud of the temple to his wound. He will be all right.' It was done, and Ramendra recuperated within 2 or 3 days. On some auspicious occasions, the mother and Aunt Bhanu went to the Amador to bathe. Seeing the farmers working in the fields, the mother commented, 'These people work so hard, but do not get square meals every day.' The place where the mother took her bath is now called Mayur Gut." You can't help but read that again, just seeing the heart of the mother, that compassion that she has for these, farmers that had nothing. And also for her looking and, trying to make arrangements to get a river diverted, to fill a lake so that they could irrigate their fields. You saw that she wasn't a small thinker. She was always looking for solutions and looking for ways to help. And I think, that's a beautiful eye to have, especially in these days, to really be an influence for being one solution-minded, so that don't talk about the troubles and the problems everywhere. Think about the troubles and problems, but come up with solutions, come up with ways that you can be a fixer, in those solutions, that you can be part of the help rather than it's just someone walking around seeing the troubles, because the troubles are easy to see. And it's very egotistically satisfying to point out troubles. It somehow makes us feel above the troubles if we're the one talking about them, separate from ourselves. But take them on, own them as your own trouble and find the solution for it. And have that kind of heart, that kind of empathy for those that you see that are struggling, that are going through difficult times. I'm really being touched by that in this work that we're reading. I really love how her life was managed. She lived with Swami, with Sri Ramakrishna to give us an example of what the ideal householder is. They're not teaching us, of course, because they kind of rode the space in between householder and monk, they kind of give an ideal for both. But really, in essence, they lived a householder life. You know, they didn't live in a monastery. They cooked their food. They ran their business and their affairs. And I think that it's just a great idea to look at how her job and herself wasn't the center of her life, even though she was taking care of a household, her own household, her own, extended family who were depending on her. But how she didn't keep her mind at that level at all. That was just one of the things that she did. She was constantly scanning her entire environment, in a sense, the temple that she went to and the monks that she was around and the people that she could influence, and was just always consistently, now we've seen through the whole book, just consistently being mother, just taking care of everyone and everything as if it was her responsibility and her problem to solve and to fix. What did the Holy Mother have to do with the irrigation of local farms, and yet she saw that as part of taking care of her children. And so to open our hearts to start to sort of work in that direction.
Excuse me, Swamiji, what page are we?
We're now on page 552.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Sure. Holy Mother's illness and recovery. In the fall of 1917, after Jagadatri Puja, Holy Mother suffered from malaria off and on. In January, she became bedridden. When this news reached Calcutta, Swami Sharadananda left for Jairambati on the 21st of January, 1918, accompanied by Dr. Satish Chakrabarti, Dr. Kanjilal, and Yoganma, Golapma, and Sharala. When Holy Mother saw so many people arriving at Jairambati, she said to Brahmachari Parada, "My son, so many of them have come to look after me. Please receive Kedar's permission for you and Rajan to stay here for a few days and buy groceries and to do errands for them." Dr. Kanjilal gave homeopathic medicine to Holy Mother that slowly cured her fever. The presence of her dearest ones gave her joy and strength. Swami Sharadananda was in a great mood. Every day the party would bathe in the Amadar River. On the bank of the river, there was an Amalaki tree. There, Brahmachari Bimal, later Swami Dayananda, would read a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita, and Sharadananda would explain them, which enthralled the audience. Yoganma repeated 10,000 japam every day there without changing her position. Bharata brought pure drinking water from the river in a pitcher back to Holy Mother's residence, and the mother served them prasad. Sharadananda, Yoganma, and Golabma returned to Calcutta, but Holy Mother wanted to stay in Jairambati. So Brahmachari Vilas and Sharala stayed a few days more. Oh. I like how she had people coming to help, and then she went and found helpers for the help. Which, again, you just see. At first, I thought she was going to be embarrassed and shy about having all those people come to help, but that's egotistical to feel that way. To feel shyness like that is ego. And so, of course, she didn't feel that way. But immediately, once again, even for those who were serving her, she wanted to serve them and to get them the help and support that they need. On one day in February 1918, Brahmachari Rajan and Bharata went to Jairambati with groceries. When they were about to return to Kolpara that evening, they saw the mother seated on the veranda, stretching her legs. Rajan said to her, "Mother, previously I had a deep concentration in japa and meditation, and I experienced great joy in that. But now I'm engaged in various activities and I'm unable to concentrate. I'm unable to practice japa and meditation sufficiently." Well, this is a common, I've heard this from even some of y'all. Some of you all that being distracted by worldly life is a challenge. I saw it too when I first got to Colorado. Once I left the confines of the monastery and suddenly had bills to pay and groceries to buy and dinners to cook and schedules to plan. I also saw that to be the case. So let's see what Mother says. The mother replied calmly, "My son, in the beginning, if you do not get a little taste in spiritual life, how will you pass the rest of your life? For that reason, the master gave you a little intoxication, but now he is making you do his work. After you have accomplished the necessary tasks, he will bestow on you higher realizations. You will attain bliss, don't worry. Now do his work. You will get spiritual experience later. The master exists, don't forget him. Think of him and do your duties." All right. That's a great answer, but it's not an answer most people want to give. The point of our life is not a blissful meditation, not just enjoyable time in the presence of the beloved. That's what we do, and that's what we get, and that's our gift of grace. But our focus is the work. Our focus is the worship of God and man. That's the highest form of worship, and an extension of practice. And so instead of setting up a mind where we set our busyness and our daily routine in opposition to our spiritual life, start to live in such a way that you put them together, that they both are bringing you toward the same ideal. At work, take time out to recenter yourself, but make the people at your job your children. Be concerned about their lives and go there. We've talked about that in the past, that, if you do accounting work, you're only incidentally an accountant. First, you are a lover of God and man. Your first job is to love. And and every other job that you have is secondary to that. So whatever office space you're in, whatever service you're doing to earn your living, turn it into practice and make those people your children. Make them your disciples as such, and love them and nurture them and meet their needs and look for ways of improving. Be solution oriented, even in the way that you work in the office. If there's troubles, don't complain about them. Come up with the solution, propose it, and try and get it to happen. Look for ways that are better. And you see, in that way, it doesn't oppose your work. It actually makes you better at your job. I'm sure any office supervisor who sees someone who's taking a proactive role and trying to come up with helpful ideas and being willing to do the work to make them happen is going to be appreciative of that. And any supervisor who's got that attitude about taking care of the people under him and being concerned about their lives and putting an element of love into his relationship with them, that's going to be deeply appreciated. And even a president or CEO of a company, if they have that approach, being money oriented is a choice. Being profit oriented is a choice. And it's the wrong choice for spiritual seekers. It's an unhelpful choice, and it puts everything in opposition and causes trouble. So don't do it. Understand that your job is secondary to your duty to love and to serve, and to enter your workforce like that. And so that your day becomes helpful to your spiritual life and not a distraction. Because what a wonderful thing to be driven to prayer. If you're sitting there at your meditation time and all the people from work are entering your mind with like, oh, take care of Betty's son, he's sick in the hospital with a fever, and oh, John's wife just lost her job, then you can go to the Mother of Mothers and you can be an extension of Sri Sharada Devi in your workplace, taking care of her children as your own, being dedicated to that. Do you see how big this ideal can get? It's the renunciation is on our selfishness, not on objects. Our renunciation is on egoism, not just activities in the outer world. You know, so with those ideals and understanding that renunciation is not about stuff. It's about breaking ego, expanding your boundaries of ego to include as many people as possible within the inside of that ego boundary. To be a mother, to be a father, to be a caretaker of people. So renunciation is about ego. And worship is about service. And life is practice. If you take that on and live that way. And it won't be confined to an hour here and there that the rest of your day is getting in the way of. As the mother did not go to Calcutta, the monks requested that she visit Koalpara. That was kind of a little halfway zone. It's a very small little village, and she has a beautiful little enclosed ashram there now. The people in Koalpara, that's where I met that old man that even when I was a brahmachari, fell down at my feet when he found out that I was a nun. When he found out that I was a monk. And, you know, because, and what he told the Swami, he says, you know, he was an old man living in a little village, and he was in tears. I mean, it was a real big moment for my life, because it was when I had just joined, you know, it was that year, 2000. I haven't even been in for 1 year. And I was walking around in my brahmachari whites out there in Koalpara at this very small ashram. And this old man was in the temple. Their temple there is an outdoor temple, which means it just has a kind of a grating around it. It's not separate from the outside air. And he had been in there meditating, and he came out and he saw me, and I was standing with Swami and talking with Swami. And I know I've told you this story before, but I love to relive it because it was just such a moment. Because he looked at me and he kept looking at me very oddly, and then he tried to talk to me, and he was even more concerned when I didn't seem to comprehend, and he assumed I was like mentally challenged or something. And he turned to the Swami and he said, "What is wrong with this man?" And the Swami said to him, "Oh, he doesn't speak in Bangla. He doesn't speak your language." And the man looked at me with wide eyes, and he looked at Swami. He says, "Why doesn't he speak Bangla? Are there people that don't speak Bangla?" I was the first foreigner he had ever met. And when Swami told him, "No, he is from America. You know, they speak English there, not Bangla." And he said, "America? Hey, why does he look like this?" And Swami said, "Oh, he's a monk. He's a brahmachari." He said, "From America, and he's a brahmachari." And the Swami said, "Yes, yes." And the man literally began weeping, began crying, and fell down on the ground in front of me, you know. And I was a first-year brahmachari from the States, and somebody laying at my feet, touching my feet and crying. I didn't know what to do at all. And you know, I helped him stand up, and Swami asked him, you know, "Why are you crying? What's up?" And he told the Swami, he said, "Oh, all my life I've tried to renounce." And he said, "And what do I have to renounce?" I live in a mud hut in a village, and even that I can't let go of. And here this boy from America, the land of wealth and rich beyond my imagination, has become a brahmachari already at such a young age. What can I do? And you know, that's when I had that dream about the people with the beach of sand, you know, when I realized it's not how much you renounce, you know. Money feeds you like sand feeds you. And who cares if you renounce $1 or if you renounce $50 million? It's sand. It can't feed you. It can't give you what you're looking for. And so renunciation is never about quantity. It's never about quantity. It's about discerning and understanding. Oops, for some reason my alarm's going on. And now, am I back? Okay, sorry. That it's not about how much. That has nothing to do with it. It's about discernment and really keeping your eyes on what is truly valuable in your life. What are the effects of the things that you are holding on to in your life? Are they really helpful to you? And, it's hard to know this if you haven't spent a certain amount of time in practice. For anybody that can, get some time to go away and spend some real practice and find out, if you haven't, how much bliss there is, how much contentment there is found through practice, how much of a fullness you can get by keeping your eyes on the beloved, that it's not all about exercise and practice, that there's a reason, that this is the better way of life. And it's not just because it's a scriptural truth. It's because this is what will fill your life and fill your heart and give you a foundation of contentment to stand on, of bliss. And then you feel the pain of the world. You feel the pull at the heart when you go out and do things that you used to enjoy. You start to realize how much, for myself, I was the dinner party king when I was in the world, just constantly throwing big parties and keeping everybody entertained and making sure my social schedule never had a single slot that was empty. And I thought that was enjoyment. I thought that was a lovely life to have. And when I joined the monastery, it was quite a shock to have suddenly lose all of that, have none of that. For a while, I thought, wow, I'd really given something up. Unfortunately, it took me almost 10 years before one day I, realized the amount of energy that sapped from me, and how really I managed to keep all of that going because I couldn't stand my time alone. I fell into depression whenever I was alone. If I didn't have something to distract me, I was miserable. And I never realized that because I never let myself have a moment like that. And this is about discernment. This is about understanding, that we live these upright lives, not because they're moral, not because they're the right thing to do, not because blah, blah, blah. We do them because it is the way to have a fulfilling life. It is a way to be true to ourselves in the end. We come to realize that these aren't rules from outside of ourselves, that these are rules of human nature. These are guidelines of our divine nature, and how to live in that fullness, in that sweetness, and to not see other people as objects for our enjoyment. Not to have to go around taking bites out of each other in needy friendships, but to become mothers, lovers of the world, without our own sphere of egoism constantly blocking out the beauty of service and the potential of service in that. Oh, so I was talking about Kualpara. I was just trying to figure out, how did I get started on all of that?
Is that the place, Swamiji, that has a big library? That books.
They didn't when I was there. There was nothing big there when I was there, but I haven't been there in 26 years. So I have no idea what's there now. When I was there, it was a very quiet little farming village, and they had a nice big lake that everybody would bathe in. And then right next to that lake was a little compound, a little walled compound where Mother used to stay when she was there. And they've turned her room, which is a very modest little room, into a shrine that you can go and meditate in. And that's Kualpara. It was, and this old man. That just gives you the flavor of the people that live there. It's a very simple village. I hope to God it still exists like that, because what a beauty that was. So the monks requested that Mother visit Kualpara. She agreed, and in the middle of March 1918, she went to Kualpara and stayed a few days at the Jagadamba Ashrama. One afternoon, Holy Mother suddenly lost her outer consciousness, saying, "Master." Ketter's mother said that the mother was in samadhi. Other women sprinkled water on her head and eyes and fanned her. When the mother regained her consciousness, Nalini asked, "Aunt, what happened to you?" The mother tried to hide it, saying, "Oh, it's nothing. Perhaps I became dizzy while trying to thread a needle." That was like Swami Prabhupada when I caught him for the third time having a conversation with the Divine Mother in his room in the middle of the night. And the next morning at breakfast, I asked him about it. I said, Maharaj, I was woken up last night by you talking in your room to somebody. And he said, oh, is it so? I said, yes, pardon me, but I got up and I came to look in your door because we weren't allowed to close our doors in the monastery. And so I looked in your door and I saw you there in your bed, but you were talking to the Holy Mother. And I said, I could only hear your side of the conversation, but I could tell that you could hear the other half. And he looked at me kind of sheepishly and he said, oh, if only she would talk to me when I was awake.
So he
I was
actually
like,
was talking to Holy Mother.
huh?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, 3 times I woke up in the middle of the night with that. Yeah, 3 times. The first 2 times I didn't get up because I was curious, but I didn't think that I should go spy on Swami. But the third time I was like, what's going on here? It didn't happen after that again, though, is the thing. But either that or Mother came in and put me in a deeper sleep before she went in to talk to Swami, maybe. Later, Holy Mother described her samadhi to Brahmachari Bharata. After my illness in Jairomati, I went to Kolpara with a weak body. One afternoon, I was seated on the veranda. Nalini and others were sewing something nearby. It was very hot and the sun, scorching. Boy, I can tell you what that's like. I saw the master enter through the main door, come into the shade of the veranda and lie down on the cold, muddy floor. When I saw that, I hurriedly tried to spread the upper part of my sari on the floor, and then I lost outer consciousness. Kedar's mother and others raised an uproar. I told them it was nothing, that perhaps I got dizzy while passing a thread through the eye of a needle. Holy Mother also told Bharata that whenever she was very ill and thought of the master, he always appeared before her. I never know what to do with these things. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I could be Holy Mother too, if every time I had some trouble, Ramakrishna would appear in the room and throw me into samadhi for a minute, I go to talk and I'm like, this is so unfair. What is going on here? Your direct disciples had a problem with lust, and you just pulled their tongue out and wrote a few figures on it, and boom, finished. It was done. I said, for me, I'm struggling in the pig's manure for 40 years of my life. And I always, when I complain like that, I'm always like, fix it. Take care of this, and I feel like we should, because it isn't fair, right? I mean, from our perspective, which is the only one we have at the moment, so make your case. If enough of us sign a petition, maybe nothing will happen. All right. Holy Mother was gaining strength day by day in Kolpara, and the monks and devotees were happy to have her with them. One day, Prabodh Chattopadhyaya of Shyambazar came to visit her. She said to him, hello, Prabodh, what is the news of the war, World War I? What destruction of human lives? Nowadays, people have invented so many weapons to destroy people, and also so many machines, telegraphs, airplanes, and so on. Look, Ras Bihari left Calcutta yesterday and reached here today. We used to go to Dakshineshwar on foot with so much hardship. Excited, Prabodh praised Western science and technology. He gave examples of a few scientific inventions. The mother agreed and then said, but my son, despite these amenities, the scarcity of food and clothing has increased. Previously, there was not so much suffering for want of food. Prabodh could not argue. You see, and that's really exactly what this technology is doing. It's focused, it's concentrating the wealth into fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer hands. When Amazon started in the late 90s, I lived in San Francisco. San Francisco was a town of used bookstores. I mean, every neighborhood had its own used bookstore, and they were wonderful. They were places to gather together, there were tables, and they were always owned by a person, usually some strange, person, old guy that was dressed funny in the corner, but he knew every single book in his store. And there were mom and pop computer shops in most little places too, to go buy little pieces for your computer. And then literally within 2 years of Amazon, there were 5 bookstores left in all of San Francisco, and now there's like 3. And they're the big giant chains. There's no more mom and pops. There's not even a computer store anymore. I don't know if that's true now still, but for a while there in the 90s, the early 2000s, they lost all of their stores. Best Buy even closed in town. And you had to buy everything online. And only one person owns that online store, Amazon, Jeff Bezos. And now he lives in all the houses that he took away from all those people that owned mom and pop stores. And so be aware, I don't want to, we shouldn't be political, but we should be discerning. If you can help distribute your money in a way that doesn't send it out of your hometown will be better off for it. If you can, not stop at the fast food restaurant chain, but stop at the food truck, or stop at the off name burger store, wherever you're going, to try and spend your money. I think that's a way of service. It's a way of being a mother. It's a way of taking care of your community. To be aware that if you spend your money in places where the money goes to a corporation outside of your town, your money is not enriching your town. It's not helping out your town. That's the story of Walmart. I saw a video on Walmart, how they went through one town after another through the Midwest, and closed towns down. They moved in. Everybody stopped shopping at the little mom and pops because the mom and pops are more expensive, because it costs them more to exist. They don't get the breaks of scale that the big corps get, for their health insurance and for their rents and for their whatnots. And so it's more expensive. Yes, it is. But think about it. The last time I went to my dad's hometown, Paragould, they used to have a thriving Main Street. There's not one store open on Main Street anymore. It's completely abandoned. And just outside of town is this huge Walmart. And then after a while, after there was no more money in the town, because all the little businesses were gone, Walmart packed up and pulled out and left a dead town in their wake. And this happens when we don't discern, when we don't pay attention, when we just think it's all about money and we always take the cheapest price. There's a bigger price that may not be in dollars and cents when we live like that. And we're starting to experience it in a very real way. And so discern, discern. While they were talking, a hailstorm. What time are we getting to? Okay. While they were talking, a hailstorm started, and the mother's women companions began collecting hailstones, putting burlap sacks on their heads. Overjoyed, they gave some chunks of hail to Holy Mother, and she ate them. On that hot day, everyone enjoyed putting pieces of ice in their mouths. The next day, the mother had a fever, perhaps because she had eaten the hailstones. Her temperature went all the way up to 103, and her hands and feet began to burn. Delirious, she was calling, Sharat, Sharat. A letter was sent to Sharat Maharaj in Calcutta describing the mother's physical condition and remittent fever. A cable was also sent on the 10th of April, 1918. Sharadananda immediately sent Dr. Kanjilal, along with Parameshwarananda and Bhumananda. Dr. Kanjilal gave medicine to Holy Mother, but the fever did not subside. Delirious, the mother said, has Sharat come? If the attendant asked, Mother, shall we ask him to come? She replied, no, my son. It will be hard on him to come in this hot summer weather. Dr. Kanjilal was alarmed that his homeopathic medicine was not working. I'm practicing self-control. News was again sent to Sharadananda. Immediately, he left for Jairambati, bringing his brother Dr. Satish Chakrabarti, who was an allopathic doctor, and Yogan Ma. They took the night train and arrived at Kualpara on the 17th of April, 1918 at 1:30 in the afternoon by horse carriage from Vishnupur. Without changing his clothes, Sharadananda rushed to Holy Mother's room and saw that she was restless and stretching out her hands for relief. Her temperature was very high and the burning sensation was unbearable. She was not fully conscious. The doctor told Sharadananda that when the mother's temperature increased, she enjoyed touching something cool to get relief from that burning sensation. Sharadananda had a bulky body and had just arrived from a long journey on a hot summer day. His clothes were wet with perspiration and his body was cool. He sat on a cot near Mother's head, lifted his shirt and t-shirt and placed her hands on the lower part of his chest. Holy Mother felt the coolness and opened her eyes. When she saw Sharat, she said, "Ah, my whole body has become cool. Sharat's body is like a cold stone." Sharadananda said, "Mother, we have come. Now you will get well soon." The mother replied, "Yes, my son, I shall get better soon." The mother's temperature became normal the next day, and a few days later, she began eating solid food. On April 21st, Dr. Kanjilal returned to Calcutta. Day by day, the mother's health was improving, and she was gaining strength in Kualpara. Sharadananda and others were optimistic. One day after the Vesper service, the Kualpara monks asked Sharadananda to sing some songs about the master. He sang a song composed by Girish Ghosh and another that he had written. He also taught the local monks the Arati hymns to the master according to the tune sung at Bellarmont. I've gotten so much of that while I was here. And what a joy it became. I remember with Brahmachari, it was tedious for me. But it's so wonderful, to come back here every 20 years or so.